has made this effort. So I wanted to understand what was the motive behind it. Did I tell somebody saying, no, I won't talk? None of that, right? Thank you. Revenue Secretary, Chairman CBDT, members of the board, all senior officers, chairman earlier, former chairman, both of the CBDT, CBIC, and the current chairman of the CBIC. It's always a motivating evening for me when I come and address you all. Although I, of course, speak and lay out my expectations. It's a day when, seriously, I look at what the board was like earlier, what kind of work you've done during COVID, and what we are doing now. It's actually a very intense, forward-moving journey, and not easy for a 167-year-old board to be so nimble, and also looking at rapidly adopting newer ways of doing things. So on this 167th Income Tax Day, I start with a word of appreciation for the board. You traversed all these years, decades, but you've never been stuck at one point. You've kept moving. And that is where the relevance of the CBDT, even in a technology-driven era, comes from. And therefore, that flexibility is what I appreciate. And I've seen the intense work that the CBDT has undertaken in preparing for the Income Tax Act of 2025, the way it was drafted, the intensity with which consultations happened. And therefore, on this 167th Income Tax Day, I start with a very big appreciation in the way in which the implementation of the new Income Tax Act 2025 has happened. Great appreciation to your work. I've said this before, over more than a century and a half, the Income Tax Department has evolved alongside India's economic transformation, continuously adapting itself to meet the changing needs of the nation. You've kept yourself adapting. I repeat, you've never been stuck in one place. Strong public finances remain indispensable to our development journey, and the department has a vital responsibility in mobilizing the resources that make this progress very, very possible. The responsibility of the Income Tax Department has widened from a narrow focus on tax collection to a broader commitment to fairness, efficiency, ease of doing business, and service. The focus has shifted to improving taxpayer services. The implementation of the Income Tax Act 2025 has simplified the law by reorganizing it, reducing uncertainty, and lowering compliance costs. So alongside this, the e-filing portal has significantly strengthened this filing season with expanding computing capacity, storage, bandwidth, and also network infrastructure. These efforts enabled the portal to handle more than 1 crore taxpayer interactions in a single day, with daily interaction reaching around 1.6 crore at peak. So during the current filing season, as of July 2021, more than 3.2 crore income tax returns have been filed, nearly 94% verified, and 60% processed. On this, over 1.3 crore refund claims have been received, 96% verified, and 40% processed. So the department must continue reducing the processing timelines. Prompt refunds strengthen confidence in the fairness of tax administration and improve liquidity for the taxpayers. I think this is one line I'm repeating every year. Whilst the performance is improving, but there's room for better performance. There's room to improve our performance. I'm happy to learn that through CP grams, in the last financial year 25-26, the department disposed of 94% of nearly 78,000 grievances received. I think the Revenue Secretary also referred to this when he spoke. Average disposal time fell from 57 to 28 days, and grievances resolved within 21 days rose to 67%. As I said, there is improvement, but I think there's immense possibility to better it. Through the e-Nivaran platform, 95% of the 3.5 lakh grievances were disposed, with average disposal time declining to 42 days. These are very strong gains, no doubt, and I would encourage the department to focus on grievance intelligence as well, analyzing patterns systematically and prioritizing detection of recurring issues across regions. Remember that grievances analyzed strengthen the system, and grievances prevented strengthen governance. So we should give importance to both. However, we should not rest on our achievements, and however high they may be. So I would like the department, for this year's checklist for this Chairman CBDT, I would like the department to focus on 5 priorities. Again, this year, I give you a list of priorities, which could be said as the 5 R's. You would have thought of R's were in the banking domain, 5 R's, and therefore they came to good health afterwards. From a state of sitting with huge NPAs, they've become very healthy today, and they're making huge profits, and they're able to also service customers, give back dividends to the government. But here I'm talking to the CBDT about 5 R's of responsive tax governance. Recognize is the first R, respond is the second R, redress is the third, reflect is the fourth, and reform is the fifth. So recognize every taxpayer's concern promptly, acknowledging that all grievances deserve timely attention. Respond with clarity, courtesy, empathy, ensuring taxpayers receive meaningful communication at each stage. Redress genuine grievances, and redress genuine grievances fairly and within defined timelines, delivering timely and recent solutions. Reflect on the root causes of recurring grievances, using complaints as an opportunity for institutional learning. Reform the processes, systems, and procedures continuously so that similar grievances become increasingly rare. So our approach should ensure convenience for the honest taxpayer, an opportunity to correct bona fide errors, and firm consequences for deliberate evasion. But sometimes we make the error of treating honest taxpayer with a deliberate evader, and everybody goes home unhappy with us. We have to be intelligent. We have to be discreet, and we should know to draw a line between those who are deliberately evading tax from bona fide errors. The authority conferred by tax law must always be exercised with humility. I don't mind, like at home, praying to God. At least in South, we are taught Sahasranama. You know, you worship a particular deity with 1,000 good names. You want to say, oh, you're this, oh, you're that, you're this, and seek benevolence. I don't mind standing before the CBDT and my friend CBIC also and say a Sahasranama of serve with humility. Exercise the power that the tax law gives you with humility a Sahasra times. I don't mind saying it 1,000 times. You do splendid work. You do brilliant work with technology. You're creative. You're trying to do a lot more. You want the revenue collected well so that the government's services, extending of welfare measures can all run smoothly. Great. But somewhere, the taxpayer is left with a bitter taste in his mouth when we slightly exert that empowerment which the tax law has given us. We have to reflect that power which the law gives us with a sense of humility. You are there with the power, but not to arrogate yourself with it. And that bitter taste in the mouth of the taxpayer is something which only we can redress. And only we can redress if we approach the problem with a sense of humility. You may be doing your job right, but that element of aggrandizing yourself is the one which leaves a bitter taste. We don't want that. The authority, therefore, I repeat that line, the authority confirmed, the authority conferred by tax law must always be exercised with humility. A taxpayer is not merely an assessee. A taxpayer is a citizen and a partner in India's growth and development. We have to give him that space and that respect. Please do not overdo. At the same time, do not be laid back. There is a fine balance to maintain. Tax certainty is one of the strongest foundations of voluntary compliance. Our long-term objective must shift from litigation management to litigation prevention. Therefore, again, it should rest on 3 pillars: clarity in taxpayer obligations through timely circulars. Do it in simple language, do it in plain English if you do it in English, if you do it in Hindi, simple language. Consistency of interpretation across jurisdictions. And the third C, continuous institutional learning from appellate orders to inform future reform. So the 5 R's, the 3 C's. Together, these principles reduce avoidable disputes while improving certainty for honest taxpayers. On this dimension, I appreciate that there has been progress, which I said earlier. A total pendency declined by over 34,000 cases to now 5.4 lakh appeals. No good. We should pause here. Are we doing this consciously? How could the appeals, despite your attempt to bring down the numbers, 34,000 is a brilliant big number. On hearing that, on reading that, I would have thought the pending appeals would have come down to less than 1 lakh. We still have 5.4 lakh appeals. 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, the chairman can correct me, we had an exercise within our boards about how to reduce pending appeals. We had a blueprint on. And I'm sure the blueprint is what is making a lot more speedier disposal and clearance of all the pending appeals. But we are allowing the mounting appeals to keep coming up, the newer ones coming up, even as the reduction is happening in a slower pace. This is running up and this is walking down. I appeal to the board, CBDT, that you should have one more review to see how you're going to handle this. It cannot be that the cases keep mounting and you're clearing at some pace, which is going to, like as they say in some numbers, it'll take a century to clear it. If you're allowing the growth to go on like this of appeals or of complaints, and your reduction is not matching up with this. So please do a review and make sure that these numbers don't frighten us anymore. Following revised monetary thresholds pursuant to the Budget 24-25 announcement, 6,000 departmental appeals have been withdrawn, freeing us resources for cases with substantial questions of law. Of course, where there are substantial questions of law, you don't want to frivolously handle it. You need to be careful about it. Therefore, the implementation of Income Tax Act 2025 must be accompanied by consistent guidance and continuous engagement with taxpayers, professionals, and industry. This is important because India's economy is evolving rapidly, and it will continue to generate new questions, and the department must remain agile enough to keep the pace. You have to be agile enough to keep the pace. Ultimately, tax certainty is an economic imperative that improves the ease of doing business and strengthens India's competitiveness as a global investment destination. Last year, I had emphasized that a modern tax administration requires not only modern laws and technology, but also modern workplaces, well-equipped offices, and a motivated workforce. I'm pleased to see that the department has made steady progress in advancing these priorities during the past year. New office complexes and modernization projects have progressed well at Mumbai, Delhi, Bengaluru, Chennai, and Noida, and maybe a few other stations as well. And there has been continued investment in residential and welfare facilities for our officers and staff. 2 days from now, I will be inaugurating the new Ayakar Sindhu office, which is an office complex in Mumbai, which is another important milestone in creating world-class infrastructure. Physical infrastructure, however, is only one dimension of the institutional capacity. As we continue to invest in world-class infrastructure, we must invest with equal commitment in building the knowledge, skills, and leadership capabilities of our officers. I would encourage strengthened specialized training in AI, data analytics, forensic accounting, international taxation, transfer pricing, digital assets, cybersecurity, and advanced financial investigations. So our officers must also be regularly trained in structured leadership development. So as we celebrate 167 years, this is an occasion both to reflect and to look ahead. Over the coming 2 decades, our collective aspiration is to realize Vikasit Bharat by 2047. The Income Tax Department will play a vital role in improving ease of doing business, promoting compliance, and strengthening trust between taxpayers and the state. I would encourage the department to follow the broad principles which I'd like to lay before you for your consideration. Deepen voluntary compliance. It's not going to be beyond you. You are the catalyst. Make sure there is voluntary compliance. Continue simplifying the taxpayer experience. There is no end to simplifying it. More and more towards greater simplification, it's going to be even better attractive. Further strengthen tax certainty at the implementation level. Harness technology responsibly. Build institutional excellence. Strengthen public trust. And last, embrace continuous improvement. So these priorities should reinforce one another. Simpler laws encourage better compliance, better services strengthen trust, and greater trust promotes voluntary compliance. So throughout your 167-year history, you have moved from paper files and paper filing to intelligent digital platforms, and from an enforcement-oriented administration to one that places equal emphasis on services, transparency,